Hello guys, today we are going to summarize and discuss a hot topic that is currently on the headlines of almost all mainstream media, which is the court case of Sam Bankman Fried, the founder of bankrupt crypto exchange FTX. In the beginning, I need to say that if you had some suspicions about how it happened and what kind of person SBF is, and his friends who co-founded the company and managed it, I gotta tell you that most likely with a 99% probability it is true. There is a lot of stuff that is happening, a lot of details, actions, and overall new evidence has come to light from the FTX management, so I'll try to compress it as much as possible for you so that you'll be able to watch the video even during some kind of a short break. Okay, so firstly, we need to introduce three people to the case: Gary Wang, who was the co-founder and CTO, Nishat Singh, who was head of the engineering, and Caroline Ellison, who most of you know about, who was the CEO of Alameda Research, a subsidiary company.
Yeah, absolutely could pull it off without my math degree. Use very little math. Use a lot of elementary school math, like arithmetic, probability, but not really any of the advanced stuff I learned in college.
And all of them were SBF friends from MIT and from the school. Okay, with that out of the way, we need to start with the fact that in December 2022, SBF had already testified, saying that basically this was just an unprecedented thing that happened. It was a collective mistake and that he didn't knew about a lot of things that were happening.
A lot of people look at you and see Bernie Madoff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's who I am at all, but...
But most importantly, there was no intent to defraud the client's money. This was very important for the case classification because therefore it determines the final sentence. So, in his testimony, basically SBF was trying to push the blame or at least spread it on his other partners, namely the people we mentioned. But recently, we received a testimony from Mr. Wang and Caroline Ellison, who turned against SBF, and they decided to cooperate with the US government and testify against him. And now we will discuss the meat, the juice itself. So first and foremost, it turned out that yes, Alameda Research had special privileges in FTX, namely, they had an access to clients' funds. They had a special backdoor created in the code written by Mr. Nishat Singh, but on the SBF order. It means that Alameda basically had unlimited credit line where they could borrow the money without giving any collateral and without any restrictions. They could sustain a negative balance in FTX. To the degree that in 2020 Mr. Wang discovered that Alameda owed to FTX more than entire FTX yearly revenue at that time. So the rest you already know. They took too much risk with too much leverage basically, and at some point the hole in the Alameda account was simply too big to cover. As for the recent testimony of Caroline Ellison, she said SBF was the one who caused the collapse of FTX, and as for her guilt, she said, this is quote, "I don't think I would have believed if you told me I would be sending false balance sheets to our lenders or taking customer money. But over time, it was something I felt more comfortable with." End of the quote. Which basically means she got used to it with the time. It's a typical behavior. But it shows that they were basically defrauding the money, sending false documents to lenders, which, by the way, they borrowed money from companies, well-known companies like BlockFi and Voyager, which, as we know, are also already bankrupt. So do you remember how SBF was portraying himself as a philanthropist, that he wanted to donate all his money, that he was driving a cheap Toyota? Well, it turned out to be a facade as well. Not only did he bought 2 private jets, which allegedly he never used, real estate for him and his colleagues in Bahamas worth tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions US dollars. He gave his parents a $10 million cash and a $16 million mansion, which would be okay to give back to the parents, but not with the stolen money from other people, right? Also, we have leaked conversation between executives about costs of the houses, that they live in, where initially he wanted in this conversation to ask to spread the cost between members, but at the end SBF jokingly said that as always Alameda will pay for it. Next thing we need to mention is that right now he is represented by Cohen and Gresser law firm, which for example represented in the past companies like Goldman Sachs or Samsung, which we can assume that their services are not cheap, while SBF claimed after all this happened he had only $100,000 in his account. Another thing is that when everything happened and withdrawals were halted, you remember back then they let customers from Bahamas withdraw their money. We were talking about it last time covering this topic. Well, SBF gave an interview to one of the YouTubers, Tiffany Fong, and in that interview he explained saying he let citizens of Bahamas withdraw the money because he lived there and didn't want the people to be angry at him, so he could, go out of home without a problem and, buy some groceries, for example.
The reason I did it was it was critical to the exchange being able to have a future, because that's where I am right now. And you do not want to be in the country with a lot of angry people in it. And you do not want your country to be incorporated in a country with a lot of angry people in it. And so it was, realistically speaking, it's shitty.
Which shows how a selfish person he is, and that all this philanthropy and later political endorsements were just to cover all the dirt that was going on inside the companies. Now summarizing everything, it all turned out to be a scam from the beginning. We now know that the money never went directly to FTX, since FTX couldn't open a bank account because nobody wanted to work with a crypto exchange at that time, but Alameda had one, and therefore all the fiat money went there, and in FTX you just had a virtual number displayed in your client profile. So there you go, guys. I hope with this quick summary I showcased to you what is going on, what we already know about the case, and what most likely will happen to FBS, which looks like a life sentence for him. But of course, time will tell. Who knows? The juries chosen to this case are librarian, nurse, physician's assistant, and 9 other people without financial background. So, for sure they will be able to judge correctly whether he is guilty or not. But what do you think, guys? I'm curious about your opinion on this matter. So for now, thank you for watching, and yeah, till next time, take care.